Hello and welcome to another video from MicroStrategy. Today's topic would be hierarchies. There's two things that we're going to talk about: system hierarchies and user-defined hierarchies. I'll explain both of them, and for another video we'll save advanced hierarchies like staggered, split, etc. And how those can be designed by using the database and MicroStrategy together. But today we're staying in the box. We're using the user and the system hierarchy directly. The user hierarchy and the system hierarchy are a little bit different. The system hierarchy is the automatic relationship between attributes defined by child parent. The user hierarchy is the manual hierarchy that you can define. Okay, so let me show you. Here's a sample report. Okay, this report has no attributes on it. It has just one metric. Okay, so let's look at this report. Where is it coming from? It's come from a table called M5. Okay, keep that in mind, M5. Let's see our region. Our region is mapped to 06, and our state is M506. Let me remove any parent-child relationships. Run this poverty report. Okay, great. So we got a value of 9.9, and I'm going to filter it by region, but I want to update the schema to make sure that my attributes are all well defined and recognized. So here we go. I'm going to add a filter by region, and let me just add one region. Just select the first one. Okay, okay. Alrighty, so let me see what happens, and nothing happened. Let's look at the SQL. The SQL tells us that there is no where clause, even though we have it a filter, right? We had a filter. Because this fact has come from one table, the region has come from another table, there is no way for MicroStrategy to know how to filter the data coming here by the value here. It's just disconnected, so it ignores it. How do I solve this problem? Let me save and close this guy. Solve this problem by creating a parent-child relationship with an attribute such as state. Okay? Such as state, where state is mapped to a recognizable table for this metric in the poverty report that I just displayed. So here the copy of region must have one or many states, or the state has only one and only one region. Okay, that makes it a child. Okay, if that's not the case, you might be needing to do a parent, which is similar, but it reverses the logic. Okay, so here we go. I'm satisfied that the state is a child of the region. I'm going to save and close. Update the schema. Okay, rerun my report. It's no more 9.9, it's 7.3, so something changed, right? So let's see what happened. Okay, wonderful. So it took the metric, but it also was able to join back on a different table, match them by state, the child of the region, and recognize the region. So that parent-child relationship allowed the filter to become operational on a metric that it didn't have a direct relationship with. So basically, this is a great way of, understanding how parent-child relationship and this system hierarchy operates. And MicroStrategy recognizes a system hierarchy because it's automatically created. And if you don't believe me, go to your system hierarchy under Data Explorer, right-click, Display in Graphical Viewer, and there's sometimes a little lag. Let's see if it caught on or didn't. Okay, there it is, actually caught on. Sometimes you will not see this line when you first look. You have to go and disconnect from your desktop and reconnect. It doesn't refresh always immediately. But anyway, it's saying that the region is one to many states. Okay, so that's the way you can. If you're not finding it, you have too many hierarchies, you can just go and look for the here and you'll find it. Okay, alright, so let's close that. Now let's talk a little bit about user-defined hierarchies. So we saw how the system hierarchy enables that kind of logical relationship. But how can I create some hierarchy for browsing and for prompting, etc.? Well, you have to create a manual hierarchy. Let's create one here under hierarchies. It's a schema item object. Let me use the 2. And notice it's smart enough to say, you also have a system hierarchy that says this guy is the parent of this guy. So it defines it. But you could always remove that or change it or reverse it or whatever. You can do that by removing this guy and then right-clicking and defining the browse attributes. It'll allow you to manipulate which one basically browses to the other one or is the parent in essence. But it will not impact the system hierarchy. This is only this custom user developed hierarchy. Okay, nothing you do here will mess up that system parent-child relationship. So there's also this option, use a drill hierarchy. If you say yes, use it as a drill hierarchy, then when you are in a report that has regions, you will be able to return the states for that region. So let's uncheck this and test it out and see what it does. And I'm going to call my new hierarchy, let's call it region to state. I'm just going to R2S. Remember, I have to update the schema to make this work. Okay, R2S. Let's go back to our, let's just use, yeah, why not? Let's use this guy. Let's edit. Alrighty, let me expand them a little bit so we can, let's just get rid of this filter. It served its purpose. Let me add region to this report. There we go. Let's see. Alright, so we got 3 regions, 3 values. And thanks to that system hierarchy, the relationship between parent-child, it's returning the correct values. Now, remember I said no drilling on that hierarchy? So look what it says, no drill path found. Okay. Obviously you can define your own drill paths for a report, but I'm talking about the natural system drill. It does not exist here, even though we created a hierarchy. So what do? Let's save and close this guy. Go back to our hierarchy. And let's enable drilling. Save and close. Update schema. Always update the schema if you don't see what you're expecting. And let's rerun this report. And now, we'll just shrink this size. Okay, and now if I drill, all of a sudden I have an option to drill down to state. There you go. Now the same report rendered, but it replaced my regions here. And remember, you could drill on for all the states, or you can select one and drill only by that state. So you have, you have to be careful about where you drill from. You get a smaller list when you drill by a certain region. Okay, there you go. That's the hierarchy. Now we're not done with it yet, so let me save and close this guy. Alright, so let me go back to my hierarchy and look at it one more time. There's one more thing, or a couple more things you could do. See, this has a green checkbox and this doesn't. Okay, what does that mean? That means that if I'm using this for browsing, in order for me to select a state, I have to first select its parent region. But sometimes you don't want to do that. Okay, so let's demonstrate the before we manipulate it and after. The best way to do that maybe is a prompt. Okay, so let's create a hierarchy prompt. So we're going to choose all attributes in a hierarchy, and we're going to choose our hierarchy that we just created. Okay, we're just going to keep it all in here, and we'll call it attribute of the R to S hierarchy. Sure. So here it is, our new hierarchy. Let's go to our report, edit it. Hopefully we don't, create errors here, but I think we're fine. Alright, so let me save this guy and let's run it. So here it is. It is asking us to select, but look, it's only showing the regions, right? But if I double click, there's the regions elements. But if I double click again, there's the state. So in order for me to get to the state, I had to go to the parent region, and then I can drag and drop or double click, etc. Alright. Drag, drop. And now if I want to go and select the state from a different region, I have to go up, go to a different region, and then select the state, right? So somebody might say, well, my users need to be able to select different states without having to go back and up to the region. It might be inconvenient. Or you'd say, no, my business always wants you to select from this style because they want you to stick to the states within your region, for instance, okay? So what do? Let's close this. Actually, let's just go and display it. There we go. So we're still at the region level, but we're only picking pieces and bits. And if you see the sequel, if you're curious, you'll start seeing, a new filter being added for our selection. So let's close this guy. I don't want care to save you. And let me go back to the hierarchy. Okay. R to S. And I'm going to say, well, make this guy an entry point. Save and close. Update schema. Purge the elements because we're using prompts and elements, attribute elements, just to be on the cautious side. You don't want to be hitting any caches. There's poverty. Ah, look. Now I have two entry points. I could either pick a region, or pick a state, or pick a region, and then pick a state. So you have all options made available to you. Alright, wonderful. Now you understand the entry point stuff. So let's go to the hierarchy, and one last thing. Let's add a filter. Okay, so you can also say, well, okay, we don't have any filters created, so let's create a filter first. Keep this guy open. I'm going to create a filter. I'm going to create a new filter on states. And I'm going to say attribute qualification copy of, if I don't know the rest of it, it'll give me options. A filter on states, and I'm going to say where the ID is, let's do begins with A. How about that? Okay, so I'm going to call it state. States with A. Okay, states which begin with A, I should have said, but you get the point. So now let's go here. Notice when I double click, it also shows me more detail, but I'm going to define a filter. Okay, and let's see, where did we save our filters? We actually saved them in the attributes folder, bad practice, but just for demo purposes it's okay. So now you see this little filter sign pop up, and it says, okay, states with A are only going to be displayed for you. Okay, let's rerun this report and see what happens. So let's go. Copy of state. It'll always show you that filter before it shows you the states because it's telling you that you're being filtered. Notice now all my states disappeared and I only have Alabama. Notice even if I go by region, so let's say MA, state, none. Okay, I know it's in the south, so let's see the south. Ah, there it is. Okay, so that's the filter on the attribute. Notice, just by going and selecting this and running the report, okay, you will not see in the sequel any reference to the filter of items that start with A. You will only see the final selection that you ended up making. So that filter was only operating in the prompt, but not in the report itself. The report only picks what you choose at the end. Alright? Now if you noticed while we were creating the report, let me just select a state, back to our, okay. Sometimes dragging and dropping is tedious. You can also double click here and add manually. Alright, So here's our report. If you notice here, there's something called Data Explorer, which allows you to select any item in the system hierarchy and add it to this report. But it also will show you something called the Hierarchies Data Explorer here, and it's empty because nothing was added there. And if you double click on the R2S, it'll try to push it in the report. But let's say you wanted to pick items of the R2S. So what do we need to do to make that happen? To make that happen, to make them selectable, go to your hierarchies, drag it and drop it into the Data Explorer folder. Okay? Let's update the schema, just make sure everything is good. And we just dragged it into this Data Explorer folder. And notice what it's going to do now for us if it worked. We should see something different. Alright, so now we see this as well under the Data Explorer. We used to see this one only. We only got to R2S when we went to hierarchies. Now it's under the Data Explorer, which can be reached from this shortcut as well. But notice when I double click on this guy, it's no more trying to add it, it's showing me the items within it. Okay, so here the hierarchy now is available for browsing as well, just by adding it in that one folder. Very simple move. You add it to a folder and boom, MicroStrategy recognizes it as a browsable item. And remember, we still have that filter on state, so when you drill down you will see that filter. Okay, and this pretty much concludes our talk about the drilling options that we had with the user hierarchy and the browsing and the manipulation of the SQL with the parent-child relationship. Okay. Alright, thank you very much everybody, and look forward for another drilling on hierarchies for split and ragged hierarchies. I'll talk about those a little bit more detail in a separate video because they involved a little bit more data intensive knowledge. Okay, thank you very much.